Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Christel Crawford Show. Welcome to Puerto Vallarta. I'm going to show you my view, although you can see some of it in the window. We are in beautiful Puerto Vallarta. We came here for a Choice of Possibilities class. We are staying at the Westin, and on Wednesday, I move over to the Hyatt Ziva for facilitators training. So a couple weeks in Mexico, and I'm outside on the balcony because Mexico. Hello. So welcome to the show. I called today's show The New 10 Keys of Business Part 1. This was originally going to be called something else. What are you aware of? How do you know what's next? I don't even remember what we called it. But I changed it because as I was getting ready for the show, I asked for my staff to sort of give me, like if I could talk about anything regarding business, what would it be? And they came up with all these different topics that I could speak to. And as I looked at what they sent me, what came out of me was the new 10 keys of business. And so what we're going to do today is I'm going to talk about the first 5. And then next week, we're going to talk about the second 5. And in the middle of all of that, you're invited to a free call with me around business called Being the Source of Change in the World. So the link's above my head. The link will be in the description if you're listening to this in the future. Because here's the thing, money follows being willing to be the source of change in the world. So there's a lot of different questions that everybody has about business, and I'm just going to dive in and let's see where we go, okay? I wrote notes because I really want you guys to have these. All right, so the new 10 keys of business. Key number 1 is awareness of energy is not woo-woo. It's your greatest asset. Now, this came out of, all the different conversations that I've had with my 500K business people, the 6-month program that I do. It's like we had constant conversations around what is it to follow the energy in business. And what I see happening out in the world is that energy and awareness of energy is not being talked about. The thing is that if you cut off your ability to perceive the energy, to follow the energy, to choose from the energy, to really look at what a choice creates, then you've cut yourself off from your greatest asset, which is you and everything that you know. So, like one of my staff was like, can you talk about using energy to navigate? Like not as a woo-woo thing, but as an actual usable thing. And as I was looking at that question, I was like, not only is it not woo-woo, but it's like essential. So key number 1 is awareness of energy is not woo-woo, it's your greatest asset. Look, so I'm in Puerto Vallarta right now, we're in Mexico, and one of the things that's constant about my life is that I'm always changing, and I'm always moving around, and I'm always traveling or living somewhere else or whatever. So every time you change, or every time your business changes, or every time you're in a different space, like you'll be aware of, and you'll have added to your life more energies. And so, I was chatting with Andres this morning because he just came off his first Choice of Possibilities class. And he's like, you know what? I got me $2,800 worth in the first 2 hours of that class because I had been functioning from, I got to get my business moving and I got to get these things in place. And, what's it going to take? And what do I have to choose next? But more from that place of like forcing something into existence. And what he got out of the first 2 hours was like, all you have to do is show up, be you, and ask, where is my attention required today? And start to listen. Now, I would say that learning to listen to the energy is probably the greatest practice of business. But also, the coolest thing is, and key number 2, is that your mind is your greatest limiter. Like, learn how to not use it. So it's like you want to learn how to follow the energy and get stronger at that, but also like get that logic paralyzes, choice activates, which is key number 3, right? So even if you think you're shit at listening to energy when it comes to business or anything else, it's like all you have to really be willing to do in business is just continue to choose. Because the moment you go into figuring it out, the moment you go into trying to find the how, which is another key on the list, is there is no how, that's a moment where you're paralyzed. And there is no linear way to build a business. There isn't one. And the people that are selling you like the formulas and the answers are just packaging something and giving it to you as if it's going to work like that. It never works like that. So it's like, so learning how to follow the energy is the practice. And what I tell everybody that I work with in business, and what I do is I simply start, I wake up in the morning, and look, if you're alive and breathing, you're in business. And I kind of look at everything. I ping through things. I have a coffee. I sit on the balcony. I look at the ocean or whatever I've got looking out that day. And I start to just perceive. I start to function from my top priorities. So it's like my top priorities when it comes to living, business and money are at the top. Money's always at the top, right? So I start looking at what my priorities are, and if I'm handling them, if I'm functioning from them, if something needs to be instituted around that. Like, for example, if I'm aware with money that I require more, that's included in what I create in business. If I'm aware with the business that I would like to expand my base or grow my list or have more people, to play with and interact with, that's a part of what I include in what I'm looking at energetically. But I also I ask a few things, right? I ask, where is my attention required today? And just let that question sit in the air. I ask consciousness what it requires of me today. I look at where I'm going personally, and if there's anything that can be created around that, and if that makes the energy sing or thud. And so what I'm looking for in all of that is, again, that I'm looking at the energies that are present now. I'm looking at what I can ask for that would generate different energies so that can be a generative source of creation. I'm including myself and everything I'm choosing and everything I want to have in the world. I'm including money. And all of that are the energies that I'm functioning from as I move forward into my next ideas. Now, there's another way of doing this where you use your mind and you use logic. And those key number 2 and 3 is your mind is your greatest limiter. Learn how to not use it. And number 3 is logic paralyzes, choice activates. So the other way of doing business is to try to figure out the right way forward. Now, there's so many pitfalls in that I can't even, I'm not even going to touch on them all, because number 1, there's no right way forward. There's only what's next for you and the next thing that you see in front of you and your next choice. That's your way forward is your next choice. And you would be better off, and I have just only discovered this through trying to figure things out and failing at it. You would actually be further ahead if you simply just keep choosing in any direction than if you sit there trying to think your way into the next right choice. There is no next right choice. Now, I just finished a 6-month series of Your 500K Business, which is my 6-month business program, and we're opening the doors in another 15 days. And I think one of the biggest transformations that I see in people there, and one person in particular that I'm thinking of, is the switch from thinking your way into the right way of doing business and being the source of what you want to create in the world. Those are 2 different realities. Now, so I was working, one person in particular stands out. She's a great friend of mine now. She has an incredible business, and she created it out of nothing, which is what all businesses are generated from. Basically, your energy and an idea is what a business is created from. And she started getting really active doing reels. Now, her TikTok blew up, her Instagram blew up, and is still growing. And so when she was looking at what she could put together as an offer, what pinged first was sessions with her, because she had just come from being a psychologist, and now she was transitioning into working with people online. So she did work with people one-on-one. Well, at some point, and this was right before, or I don't know, right in the beginning of working with me, she decided, now I am using that, she decided that it would be a good idea to have a signature program. Everyone out there does it. They do these launches every year and do a signature program. And so what's my signature program? So she put together, and this is what everything's generated from, is your ideas and energy, something like a 3-month 12-week program around finding your purpose. Now, I'm butchering some of this, but the gist is still there. And then went about launching it. Now, everything that you do is simply a good idea or a possibility. Good ideas always have the look of what will work. A possibility can work. So I see a lot of people doing and putting together what looks like should work, and then wondering why it doesn't work, and then judging themselves. And what I've really learned to function from in business is, one, what possibilities are available today that will work? Two, what can I create, generate for now and the future? And those two things are probably the two things. So this idea for her was a good idea. It had the look of it. It was well built. It was everything everybody had said they wanted. It had all the elements that should work, but it wasn't really doing anything. And this is why we return to key number one, which is awareness of energy is not woo-woo, it's your greatest asset, because a good idea is only a good idea. It doesn't mean that it's time for that idea to be in the world. It doesn't mean that it's built in a way that it can actually work. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a good idea. So I see a lot of people doing good ideas in their business and then wondering why they don't work. And when I do something, what I'm looking at is what will work here. What do I want to create and generate? What is consciousness asking from me? All those questions, and what will work? What's available right now? So I looked at the energy with her of this program, and this was during our coaching. And I just started to ask some questions of it. So now you can use these too for anything that you've got on the go or you're trying to get to fly, right? Like it's like a kite on the ground that has no air. So sometimes a kite on the ground with no air, you can just kind of find the next current and it will fly. And sometimes a kite on the ground with no air has a hole in it and it's just a broken kite and we just need to kind of move on and look for a different activity, right? So I looked at this program with her, and what I became aware of is that if she tweaked some of the things, some of the way things were positioned, some of the wording, if she gave less information and actually more invitation, that it could work. To what degree it would work, we didn't know yet, but it could work. So we worked together on her page, and we changed the things. And when she relaunched it, it did something different. Like it changed the energy. We changed the energy of the program. We changed the energy of the invitation. And she actually got some people into it. Now for her, this has been a bit of a process because what she wanted to happen and what showed up were two different things, which is always the way it is in business. And that's why key number 4 is make fewer plans and more choices, because your plans will never go the way that you think. Choice will always create awareness. So she put all this energy into creating this thing. It did something. And she got a lot of awareness. Now, recently, she relaunched it and did it in a little bit of a different way and offered it. And she has more people now paying a higher price point. Choice creates awareness. So now, if she wants to relaunch it, she can. And she'll have even more information to create something even greater. Energy is essential to look at it. Now, there's so many different facets to what you need to look at with energy. There's looking at the energy of, your individual creations. There's looking at the energy of the timing of a thing that you're creating. There's looking at the energy that's available in the world and whether or not that idea can go somewhere right now. There's looking at the energy that you want to generate as a future, because it's not that your idea could never work, but it might require cultivating over time. And then I'm sure a billion other things that I can't think of. So it's so strengthening your abilities with energy are really key. Now, one of the things that will cut your awareness of the energy of what will work off is when you go to any decision or any conclusion about what you think should happen, right? So anytime you go to a projection or expectation of, well, this is a great idea, it should work, then you've cut off your awareness of what could work. So anyway, in this same period of time where she was really hooked on this thing, generating a lot of cash, and it really didn't, we started looking at, I said, okay, cool. So, that didn't do what you thought it would. Okay, cool. What's next? Another great business question. What's next? And the thing that I asked her is what do you have just easily available that you really haven't taken advantage of yet? And she's like, well, I have all these people that want to work with me one-on-one. And I was like, okay, well, why don't you do like a one-on-one like sale or feature, or put together some packages and like run a limited time offer on your one-on-one time? So she did. And guess what? She generated more money from that idea than anything that she had done before. Why? Because it was there. It was available. The possibility was available. So I guess my question to you is like, where are you from? Like, how's your business? How's it going? How's it working? Number one thing to look at, because it's really important to acknowledge what you're creating, is it working? It may not be working in the speed that you think it should. It may not be working in the way that you thought it would, but is it working? That's a really good question to ask yourself. If it's not working, what could you choose or change that could work? All right. Sorry, I'm looking at my keys. That's not in my keys. Fuck it. But that is, it's like, what could you choose or change that could work? Now, are you in your business? So if it's not working, what's going on? Like, are you choosing and functioning from these are good ideas and these should work? And is there a lot of clunk? Like, if you look at the energy of what you're choosing right now in your business, is there a lot of lightness and space and buzz and possibility? Or is it more clunk? And if there's more clunk, like, what are you being that's creating the clunk? Now, I think that's a really huge thing, because your business is an entity of itself. You are the entity that's willing to be the mouthpiece and the harbinger of your business in the world. So it isn't that you and your business are the same thing, but are you in your business or are you doing your business? That's huge. Because if you're doing your business, that's why there's clunk. If you're in business, then there's everything that's possible. So are you doing business or are you in business? Look, and key number 5, I mean, I've sort of talked in and around all these keys, is like, no matter how someone packages something, there is no answer. There's only question, choice, possibility, and contribution. Look, when I was, I've done a lot of business coaching over the last 5 or 6 years that I've been a full-time facilitator. And it's one of my favorite things to work with people on. It's so creative, so generative. I love it. What I've also done over the last 5 or 6 years is I've really explored myself different ways of creating. And I went through a period of time a couple of years ago where I had decided, and yes, I had decided, that I was bad at marketing. Now, first of all, when you decide anything, you cut off awareness. And when you cut off awareness, you have no access to looking at the energy because you don't want to look at it. You're just decided something. So, this was right before COVID hit. My business was really, really, it was weird. It was weird. I had been traveling around and doing these classes and I was making some money and that was all okay. But I couldn't really get anything else to move. Like, nothing was really moving. And so I came off the road and I came home, and this was right before COVID was like a thing in the world. And I looked at everything, and what I decided was that it must be that I was bad at marketing. So, I mean, everything you decide is a gift. And so I went after like learning how to market. So I found this book called Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller, and I read it, and then I taught on it, and I took other people through the process. I was going to become actually a certified story brand coach, which I actually think is brilliant. There's brilliance there. But I started just studying this reality marketing. Of course, my conclusion was that if I marketed better, then I would have more money and more people. So I just went after it. And in that next period of time, I think in the next 3 to 4 months, I built a series of programs and landing pages. Well, 2 business programs, actually. One was an open container program called Amplify. That was like every 2 weeks, I would open up the Zoom and everybody would ask their questions and we would change whatever came up. And there it was. Welcome to Amplify. And it cost this price point. Okay. Super easy, super no structure. The other program I built, I made I'm listening to are you listening to me? I keep telling you I made decisions, and that's true. I wasn't making choices, I was making decisions, which are fixed points. They can't change. They are based on conclusions. So with the other business program, I called it Make Online Sales Your Bitch. And I structured the shit out of it because everybody kept telling me that, everybody, and who's that? We don't know. That, you've got to tell people what they're going to get out of the program, and you got to give them information about what it is, and you got to give the thing structure, and you can't be so chaotic and nonlinear and all this other shit. So, and on top of that, you've got to make your landing pages in a certain way so that people will choose. So man, I put so much effort into this. I can't even tell you, hours and hours and hours and hours of work into this Make Online Sales Your Bitch program. It turned out to be one of the most phenomenal programs, but I'll tell you why. Because right in the middle of doing the program, delivering the program, I let go of all structure. So it turned out to be great. But in the creation of it, man, my body hurt. I was exhausted. I put in so much time and so much effort into PowerPoints and slides and spreadsheets and materials to give you guys. As I was delivering value, I was doing all the things that this reality tells you you have to do in order to succeed. To date, that was my least purchased program ever in the history of, okay, that's not true. I've done classes with 0 people, but it was one of my least successful from a registration point of view programs I'd ever created. And I did it all right. I cannot tell you what a gift that was for me, because it was like I needed to do that in order to get the information that I'm never going to do that again. And what I recognized I was trying to do with that was I was trying to succeed, but somewhere in there I had decided that I was doing it wrong. And every time you go looking for an answer for something that you think should be working differently than it is, you've already decided you're doing it wrong. So you're going out there looking for the thing you think will give you the answer to getting it right. And man, that is the biggest trap in business that I see ever. Because the person who doesn't get to be is you. And here's the fucked up thing about that is that when you aren't being you, your business can't work. So you're out there trying to find the answer. Somebody's packaged it and makes it look like the answer. You purchase it thinking it's the answer, and then it doesn't work. And the person who never gets to be is you. And you are the source of everything working. So my big takeaway from doing it right, I ain't ever doing that again. And I realized that I was trying to straddle 2 realities. I was trying to listen, and I hear are you listening to me? I was trying. I wasn't choosing. I was trying to be beyond this reality while doing this reality, instead of just including this reality, functioning as my reality and creating what works. Now, the whole entirety of the 500K 6 months is about learning how, not how. It's about teaching yourself and practicing functioning from question, choice, possibility, and contribution. Because here's what I got from my big, grand, this reality experiment with all of that. The person who didn't get to be in that whole thing was me. And the only thing anybody has ever asked me in regards to business, when people come do sessions with me, is well, how does this work for you? They ask me. They don't ask me how do I do this in the right way? How does this work for you? And so I get to talk about well, when I'm in this particular situation, I ask these questions. Or when I'm facing, not knowing what's next, or this really different space of creation, and I'm I have no idea who I am, and I don't even know what's next, and I don't recognize anything. Here's the things that I engage with to begin creating again. What people want to know from me is how do you do it, and how could I be that with my stuff? They don't want to know what's the formula for making $500,000 in a year, because there is no formula. They want to know what tools are you using so that I can get access to that? And that's when I really started to see of my willingness to be the tools, my willingness to use the tools, my willingness to engage and create my business and my life from the tools is the gift. That's the gift. And the same is true for you. You're the gift. So if you try to go out there to find the answer to having a business that works, the thing you eliminate is you. And you're the fucking gift. So there is no how to instituting you on the planet. There's only like, well, how does this work? And what does this do? And how does this work? And I have this thing, and okay, that seems pretty light, and let's try that and see what that creates. There's only choice creates awareness. And never give in, never give up, never quit, and do it wrong, do it badly, do it anyway. Those are pretty much like the 3 pillars of business as it works for you. That's it. That's all there is. And so obviously, like in the process of creating that and, you know, instituting your business in the world, like you'll be all over the map with that. That's how that works. That's how my business works. That's how any business I've ever talked to works. It's like you're all over the map, just trying things out, experimenting with things. Then you stumble onto something that you're really great at or people really want to hear about. And then you can extrapolate on that and make that greater. And that's business as it's done. So my question for you is like, you know, how does business work for you that you've never acknowledged? What are you trying to make right that isn't, can't be? What have you made the answer that isn't the answer? How does it work for you that you haven't yet discovered? And, you know, are you choosing to be the source of change in the world, or are you doing something else? Are you in business, or are you doing business? And how's that working? And so with all of this, guys, I just want to invite you to a call with me. Like the link's above my head. It will be in the description if you're watching this in the future. And if you can't be live, the replay's available to come really start to look at what this is for you. If you were choosing from being, knowing, perceiving, receiving in business, how would your business change? If you were using the institution of what you want to create in the world to facilitate more being from you, if you were facilitating more knowing, more receiving, more perceiving, would things be easier? Is all of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory the way you're functioning in business, or are you doing a distraction implant with it? And how's that working? And what else is truly possible? So this show will have a blog with it. We will include the new 10 keys of business. So that if you want to print it out, we're going to have an infographic and a PDF. So you can go to my blog, christeljcrawford.com/blog, and grab that. You know, pop yourself on that call, get it and listen to it. Even if this is in the future, I'm sure it will have been epic. And just really look at like, what can you choose or add to your life to exponentialize everything? Man, this being here in Mexico has been such a gift. It's just the first time I've been in a live access class in 2 years, almost 2 years. And I forgot the gift that it is. I forgot how when I add to my life things that I invest in, that everything goes and my ability and my being expands. And so what I can create from that is like grows exponentially. So you're invited to the call. You're invited to come check out the 6-month adventure. And really what you're invited to is to being all of you. If you were being all of you in business, what could you create? Share this with your friends, like it, comment, and otherwise I will see you guys on the call, and I will see you guys next week for part number 2.